In episode 10 of Filmmaking Talkcast, I have the privilege and great pleasure of having international film director Marcus Ovnell as a guest speaker. We get to talk about many interesting topics, such as how to work with actors, the importance of writing a good script, battling self-ego, embracing mistakes as part of the creative process, and some deep, insightful discussions behind the thought process of his feature films, such as The Break-In, Emily and the Magical Journey, Scapegoat, and so on. Sit back and enjoy what I consider to be a window view into the spirit of filmmaking. All right, I'm crossing my fingers that on this time around it's going to be working.
That's it. You come across perfectly to me.
Yes.
There we go.
We need a little applause there.
There we go.
Awesome.
There we go.
So a little technical difficulties there, but I'm glad that it's working now. It's weird because right before I shut down the computer and restarted, I did listen to the clip and it sounded good. It's just ourselves. But I restarted the laptop and I also restarted the Rodecaster Pro too. So it could have been,
it could have been anything.
Anything. Yeah. The old reboot trick.
The old reboot.
When all else fails, just reboot. So
and everything always works. It's like really weird. It's like that's the same thing with the cameras. You're like just shut them off and turn them back on. Everything's fine.
Right. Awesome. So I want to give you a formal greeting by saying hello and welcome to Filmmaking Talkcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, especially today. It was truly a pleasure meeting you in person at the Gasparilla International Film Festival of 2023, just in case someone watches this video a couple years from now.
Yeah.
And you're such a genuine person, so humble and so open. And it was a pleasure, like listening to you talk and seeing your face light up. So, and my wife just enjoyed everything that you had to share.
Thank you.
And you were like apologizing for talking too much, and I'm like showing you the back of my shirt. No, this is what I love. I love talking to people who have a passion for the craft, and it was clearly visible on your face. And I'm grateful that you were willing to come on the show.
No, I love it.
I love it.
Cool. Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's the constants of my life. It's basically my wife, my daughter, and my love for film. Then I do other stuff, but those things always keeps coming back to me, or I could keep coming back to them. So, yeah,
right. That is awesome. So at the film festival, you were one of the judges. Best documentary.
Yeah,
that's what I think you were listening to me, right? So how did that go?
Well, it was fun. There was a lot of fun. There was a lot of very interesting subjects that people brought up with their docs. It was just one that moved us a little bit more. It was just one that just storytelling wise and just the story. It's just basically a story about inmates at San Quentin who run a marathon, and they try to complete it in prison in the yard, basically. So they just run round and round. I don't know how big that. But it was and one guy he actually gets out of prison. He's there for life, but he gets paroled, and then he gets out and he runs the Boston Marathon, and he finishes in 3 hours and like 3 minutes or something like that.
Wow.
And I don't think I would finish the marathon. So that's basically
that is so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that you're now one of the judges, but back in what you were sharing with me back in 2015, I actually had a feature film that you were award-winning there at the Gasparilla Film Festival, and not only there, you're like internationally, like you've been like all over the place. So I want to get to know you more, and I'm going to come back to that, but I want to go to the beginning. Of what gravitated you to film, because I know in our pre-meet discussion when we were talking, you said you were studying psychiatry. And just so the interesting transition from that into filmmaking, if you can share a part of that journey.
Well, the short version of a very, very long story is I loved film. I loved film. I loved TV. Grew up watching like every single like American show. My first visit to the cinema was watching Batman, the first Batman with Michael Keaton, and
that's my wife's favorite. Oh, by the way, Christy says hi. My wife, Christy.
Oh, I'll say hi back.
I will. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, her always having that. I'm a Superman fan, and she's like Batman. So we're always having the alter ego thing, like head to head.
There we go.
Especially when they made that film where they went against each other.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So you were saying?
No. So that was my first like theater experience, and it just blew me away. It was scary. It was exciting. It was everything at once. It was
roller coaster ride.
Yeah. So that was one, and then basically we in school, and this is like 5th, 6th grade, they took us to a playhouse in Malmö, where I'm from in Sweden. And we went to this play, and the actors were talking, and they broke out into to characters, and they started acting out a scene. And that blew me away, just how quickly you could transport someone from an actual conversation into an actual scene. And I can't remember the play, I can't remember the actors. They were really good. Right. But it was like something about that was like, so I always thought I was going to be an actor. I thought that, okay, acting is what I was, because basically when you watch a film, you don't really see the guy who sets up the lights. You don't see the guy holding the camera. You don't see all these different, and
the spotlight's on the talent, on the actors themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. But not only that, it's like also for me, it was like, I didn't realize there were so many professions. Involved in making a movie. I thought
collaboration between so many different types of experts and talent. Right.
So I went to really good film. I was a good student. I took school. I took school seriously in high school, and then I was valedictorian of my class, and then I got into studying psychology and in a prestigious school down in South. It's Lund University. People in Sweden know what it is, but other people don't. But it's
that's another thing I want to mention, since you just said it, that you're actually now in Sweden. When I met you, it was here in Tampa, Florida. So another thing contributing to the fact that you are not just a director and writer and actor. But you're an international filmmaker, because you're going cross country, promoting your work and doing everything related to it. So I find that amazing. So that's another reason why I was even super excited of bringing you on the show is that that whole experience of I mean, there's just so many layers to you. In my mind, I'm already thinking of you like, this is like another like Tyler Perry, because not only is he a writer, he's a director. And so far in the 2 films I was able to see that you shared with me, and one that I found on Amazon Prime, you were in there. So it was a nice like gift in the box, a prize gift and stuff. So makes me curious if we're gonna get into that, like if it's something you're gonna continue doing in your 3rd film. No. Okay.
No, I'm not. That's actually something I was in. I had a couple of scenes in my first film, and I think I did okay, but it was really hard directing it. It was really, really hard being objective, editing your own material is really hard. Looking at, I think it's fine. The second film, I'm basically just an extra. There's a picture of me, and I'm just like, I'm playing with my own child and run her up in the air playing basketball with her.
For us as an audience, it was a happy surprise. You're like, hey, we met him in person. There he is in that picture in the back. So like, it was super cool, to see that. That
was my daughter's only criticism of Emily. She was like, Daddy, why did you have to die? And I was like, well, oof, that's a big one. But it's but no. So the next one coming up, we're actually almost done with it. I actually got the music for it, like before we spoke last time. I just got the music, and the music it's Joe Kramer is doing the music, and he did Mission Impossible. He's done a lot of things, but Mission Impossible and Jack Reacher, those were two biggest tentpole things. And the music for this one is it's gonna blow people away. The music is amazing.
That's gonna be awesome.
And I'm not in a frame. I'm not in a frame. You can hear my voice in the rough edit, because there's a one time and go cut, and we actually kept it on the actor because he was so good. So I just left it. But I
want to take you back to the beginning. So
sorry.
No, it's okay. So what I was hearing from you, the experience you got from watching movies or even just acting and talent on stage, is that you felt like you were going to another world, and you enjoyed that experience. And that's where I'm trying to connect the dots and the transition, like from studying psychology.
Yeah.
And I see, like, in 2005, New York Film Academy, and you told me before that was in California, and that was directing. So that's
No, that wasn't actually directing. That
no?
was actually
Okay.
filmmaking, because I didn't know what to do. So I went to LA. I always tell my friends that I'm going to write a book one day, saying that I went to Hollywood to become the next James Dean, and I am going to return fat and bald. I'm bald already. I'm working on the platform. That's my biography book when I get old. But no, I thought I went to LA to study film, and so we had acting, we had producing, we had editing, we had all of that just combined into one program. They basically just took us and threw us in the deep end and said, all right, let's do it.
Right.
And fairly quickly, everybody kept telling me that, okay, so you're going to be a director. You're not going to act. And I didn't, I mean, because being told that you're going to direct, it's really hard, because basically everybody told me, well, you know what? And the hard part is there's no jobs. You can't apply for a job as a director. You can go to castings as an actor, but as a director, that's not something you shouldn't pursue that, because there's no jobs, basically.
Right.
So largely
they're expecting the jobs to be coming from the producer and the director recruiting, the crew, and so I see your point. That's interesting.
So you have to create your own destiny. You have to create your own jobs, basically. And that was kind of like, I don't know if that was a little bit scary, because I think I didn't know anyone. So it's like, how do I do this?
Right.
And then the long way around was I came back to Sweden after I was done with the school, and I came back to Sweden. I started working as an actor, actually, for a couple of years, and then I started doing commercials, and I did my first short film. And my first short film first short film I've ever done outside of school won awards and went to film festivals all over.
Excuse me for interrupting. Just wanted to throw in there. So I want to make sure I'm following you. So I grabbed this from your bio. So
yeah.
After there, and it's showing 2006 and 2007 Stockholm Theater School. So is that now in Sweden, or is that still okay? So that's when you went to that.
I went back to Sweden. I just wanted to study more. I wanted to learn, and I went to a theater school just because I wanted to learn more about acting, because acting was, I was already at that point, I had my mindset on being a director. I didn't know it was theater. I didn't know it was film. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
I see.
So I wanted to learn more about just the process of acting, because I felt like during film school, we had a lot of so this is the technical aspects of it. And then I wanted to learn a little bit more about, okay, so how do you talk to actors? Because and then you realize after a certain point that, well, there's no recipe, because every actor is different, because they're all human beings. So it's like that's
right.
But there are certain things that school taught me about just the way to communicate with actors, the way to not fix scenes, but I mean, a lot of times when scenes they're not working, it's usually because the actor is too engaged in himself, and he's not responding to what the other person is doing. And that's something that happens a lot in film, but it doesn't happen on stage, because the only thing you have is the other person.
Right.
So when someone says something, your response has to be to what. So when I tell you, when I speak a line to you, your response has to be based on what I give you. But in film, really,
more of a reaction, not just an action, but a reaction to
Yeah, and that becomes an issue when you're shooting with bigger actors, because the problem is that they most of the time they're not on set. So when I'm over the shoulder of an actor,
right,
and I'm shooting you, then the issue could be that you're acting against this guy, and it's not. If this would be Brad Pitt, then now it's me. It's like that's it's a difference. Because when a really good actor says something, when a really good actor he speaks a line, that line will affect the other person listening to it in a way that's it's hard to explain. The only way I can explain it, but
that interaction has to be there.
The interaction has to be there, and it's a tennis match. It's like I hit the ball here, you hit it back, and then we're competing, and that's the scene basically. But the first time I kind of realized that for real was I had the opportunity to work at the Royal Grammatical Theatre, which is like the the biggest stage in Sweden, and it's like where Ingmar Bergman worked. It's like where all like these massively talented, extremely talented artists worked. And I was there for a year and a half, and I worked as an understudy for just these great directors.
That's awesome.
Thomas Alfredsson, he did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It's just incredible. And I learned so much, and I stole so much from these people, because I was like, and John Caird was the other one. But
what I find so interesting listening to you, like, and these are just thoughts that are coming to me on the spot, is, what I'm getting is, like, I think it's so cool that you've actually walked the shoes of an actor. And I'm thinking, like, you know, to direct, you must somehow have not only seen the path, but maybe have walked the path somewhat, so that way you can lead other people to get there. And I kind of perceive two types of director. One that's more involved in the technical side with the cameras and lights and stuff like that. And they take that whole filmmaking process of capturing. Yeah. Where you got the other side, which I think is what makes you so powerful as a director, is that you've actually learned the process of what's on stage, not just setting up the stage, but the interaction, the performance that comes from the talent on there. And I think without that, you know, I may be putting my foot in my mouth, but this is just my perception. Without that, like, you know, it's harder to lead the talent to get to where you want them to be. But there's more than one way to direct, right?
There's more than one way. I mean, there's no, but I mean, there's more than, I mean, there's no, I mean, that's one of the things I should have said from the start. I mean, there are really no rules. The rules are whatever you make. And for me, the things that work for me might not work for you, and the things that work for Christopher Nolan might not work for someone else. I mean, and
everybody has their strengths.
Everybody has their thing, and that's my biggest thing. Is like, don't try to be someone else, and just try to be you in life in general, but also like as a filmmaker. Because as soon as you walk away from like the truth and the honesty of you, the audience will know it. They'll go, all right, he was overreaching here. He was like, but that's it. I mean, the way I do it, and this is just the way I do it. And there's no rules, but the way I do it is basically because I want to be involved with everything, but I also know I'm still learning. So when I bring someone on, when I bring my DOP on, and I work with a guy called Nils Krumia, he's a young guy. He's like just turned 30. He went to the Polish film school. He's just this amazing DOP, and he's a tough guy. He's like, he knows what he wants. And
that's what I was noticing too. I was like, you know, even though like you're so engaged with performance, the actual cinematography itself has not suffered. Like, I'm watching your films, I'm like, wow, you know, this is beautiful cinematography, good camera movements, good lighting. And I'm like, so like, you know, all bases covered. So that's amazing that you know how to bring a good team. Like you were talking about the collaboration of working.
I just bring better people. I just bring, if I, because I don't want to be better than my cinematographer. So basically Nils is a way better cinematographer than I'll ever be. So when I'll explain, I was like, this is what I'm looking for. And he goes, we have a joke basically where we go, he's never done a single shot the way I've told him to do it. He's always added something or had something, and we actually did one commercial where I actually shot what I. It's like, so this is, I'm seeing it from here to here, and he's like, and he did that. He was like, no, I'm not, it doesn't feel right. I'm gonna start, and it's like, like we're always, and that's what you want. It's the same thing. It's like this. We're talking about the conflict between actors. It's like this thing here where I'm hitting the tennis ball, and so you just want to get it higher and higher and higher. And this goes for everyone. This goes for set designers. It goes for sound people. I bring in people who are better than me, and that's very, very important for me.
I think that's awesome. If I can throw in there, because I see like a fault in me, and I think some other people may be able to relate, is the act of micromanagement, where you're just a control freak, and you just feel like you need to control every aspect, that you do not allow yourself the benefit of collaborating with other people who are expert in these things. And in many ways that can suffer if you're micromanaging everything. And you are like the opposite of it, is that you trust in other experts to still see your vision, yet bring, and you know, so you know, that to me shines, like, you knowing having the strength not to micromanage things and still get your vision across.
Well, that's the hard part. So you got to stick, because that was the big thing with Emily. A lot of people wanted to bring that movie because we made it was supposed to be for 5 and up. Okay. So basically my entire struggle during the entire production was like, all right, remember the 5-year-old, because we're not doing a horror film. We're doing a film for a 5-year-old. So the 5-year-old has to be able to watch it, understand it, like it, and not be bored, but also like just understand it, because 5-year-olds think differently than 25-year-olds.
Right.
And so basically it was just, but that's kind of what I do. So, what I do is I prepare extremely well. So I like, everybody knows exactly where the lights are, where the camera is, so there's no confusion. So when you get on set, the gaffer knows where he should put the lights, because it's already all set out. It's already planned out. But that's from me and my DOP just sitting down going, so this is what I want. Then he adds stuff and he uses and Nils is a magician when it comes to lights. So so that's why it looks really good. So, but it's, and then when we get on set, it's like, it's all about the actors, because if I don't get the performance, but it's also about the actors before that. So every film I do, I have all these conversations with actors. I listen to their thoughts, their questions. They might not understand things in the script. Might have to rewrite stuff. They might rewrite stuff. Sometimes we've done a film where we had an actor who pretty much rewrote every single line that he spoke, to the better. He kept this essence of it, but he was like, this is the way I want to say it. And he came in and actually affected, the costume department. He wanted different costume for it, but he presented something to me. He's a really good actor, and he's like, this is what I want. And then he presented something to me that was very different from what I thought.
Right.
But as soon as I saw what he was presenting, it's like, he understands it. He knows exactly what this is. He knows exactly what this person is, who this person is. So the end performance is going to be amazing. Right. So I'm going to stick to that. And then, but that's the.
See, as a director, you still have the like the end say and knowing, okay, like this person's creative idea is still in alignment with what I'm trying to say. It's just he at that moment seen an aspect that I didn't see, but now that it's presented to me, it's perfectly aligned. So you're like, okay, let's go with it.
Yeah.
I love that movie, Emily and the Magical Journey.
Thank you.
Like you were expressing, like, the audience that it was, designed for, and that's what I liked even more. I mean, there's a child in us all, so even adults. But I like the positive message that you were sending in there, and I like a film that teaches you something, right? And to me, you're teaching to be brave, to be courageous, and to have love in your heart and stuff like that. So it's amazing that you made a film like that it's helping like our children into growing into being heroes within themselves, right? Because we're always like films, or we're trying to relate to what we perceive as a hero, and to be able to teach that to a child is a remarkable thing. And
thank you again.
It touches even the child and us adults. So thank you for making a film such as that.
Thank you for. I mean, that's what we wanted to do, and thank you for seeing that, because it's like it's what we try to do, and it was also a reaction to my wife got pregnant, and now we have a 6-year-old, and I saw where the world was going, and I was like, are we lost? Are these old like white men are they screwing the world up so much? And what can I teach an old white dude to sit? I'm not going to be able to do that. But what we can do is we can affect and we can give a positive message to the kids, because they will rule the world one day. And what I'm seeing from the younger generation, and I know most people don't agree with me, but I see a younger generation that is way better than we ever were, and
it shows in that film, and that expression comes across. I appreciate the it just makes me think about things that you may just overlook and take for granted. I appreciate the courage that she had, because we don't think about the adversities that we have, or we forget, I guess that's a better way of saying it, the adversity we have of facing our parents with certain ordeals. You know, they are authoritarians over us.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like, even for me as a child, I was taught to not to speak unless being spoken to, you know? So, you know, and maybe in these late generations, there's more freedom in that speaking, but coming from my generations and understanding that, like, hey, you know, you got to be careful of like stepping out of line and speaking to your parents in the wrong way, or just speaking in general when you shouldn't. But so, you know, teaching that whole ordeal of building the courage of when it's right to speak up, and here she is doing so to save her relationship with her mom, and just in general save her mom's soul, you know. She made that's a hero when you make a sacrifice that saves someone else's life. To me, she's saving, you know, not only her own, but she's saving her mom's life into becoming a better person. So I thought that beautiful. Now, you know, can I hit that ball thing again?
There we go.
Beautiful job
I get all
people to think about that. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I love praise, but I'm too Swedish. I heard Alexander Skarsgård and he did an interview and was like, I'm too Swedish to be cocky. And there's something about we are the worst people, because we're like, oh no, not me.
You're humble.
But in a weird way, and then we go back home and we sit at home going, I'm the fucking best. No,
but that is awesome that you're constantly battling to make sure that ego doesn't get in your way. That
well, ego is tough. Ego's I mean, that gets in my way all the time. I mean, there's a reason why I battle it. I mean, I focus on being humble. I focus on creating a safe space on set where everybody's allowed to make mistakes, and that's because I have the standards on myself are so high. So so I think basically, I mean, we judge others we judge others from who we are. So it's like I every day I'm like, I should have done more. I should have. I mean but that's the constant battle of being human, right? I mean, you grow. I mean, it's a
learning experience.
It's a learning experience.
A long journey, yes.
And we're all trying our hardest. And well, I mean, hopefully we're all trying our hardest. But it's ego always gets in the way. It's like always, especially when I'm writing. It's like I sit there and I write and I go, this is awesome. Right. Then I send it to my wife or someone else, and they go, yeah, maybe you should rewrite this. Like, because the ego is hurt first, because you go, I am a genius. Right. How could they? And then you read and you go, all right. Yeah, they're right.
It's a duality of polarities, of like a yin and yang, where you're trying to balance the two. Like, your ego can push you forward, but at the same time you're like, okay, like, all right, it's time for me to take control of the wheel to make sure that I am truly self-expressing and not just this whole like persona of something that I'm not. Because ego, it kind of like blows your head up, which is great to stay motivated. But you're like, okay, is it still like expressing me? I don't know if I'm making any sense in there. Like, I guess maybe what I'm trying to say is ego can be a mask, you know, because it can push you forward, but at the same time in a way where you're using an exaggerated alter ego, which can kind of deviate of who you really are spiritually, and which is even more amazing than that ego person. And you expressing, like, you know, being humble and stuff like that, and us just trying as individuals to be the best person we are, that's a discovery process. Because first of all, what is the best version of ourselves? And we're constantly trying to figure it out. There's compass deep within inside of us that feels the need to find it. We have to be the best we can within ourselves. So I can relate to that.
The price we get for actually finding ourselves and finding it is actually a good life. It doesn't have anything to do with success, but it has to do with when I'm centered, and when I feel when ego doesn't get in the way, or when stress doesn't get in the way, I'm a really good dad. Then I'm the best dad, and I'm a good husband. Right. But then there's the days when the ego is in the way, and then then so it's basically, it's again, there's no rules, but for me, it's like, I'm just trying to be the best person that I can be. And for what works for me, basically, both in life and on set, is like, when I don't have an ego, when I'm not trying to be the biggest, like, God's gift to filmmaking, and I'm just creating a safe space where everybody's allowed to make mistakes, and those mistakes aren't the problem. I mean, if you screw up a take, it doesn't matter. We'll just do it again. But there's something, and that works for me, and I get the best out of my actors that way, and that's on set. So basically, and I heard someone talk about, I'm not comparing myself to Christopher Nolan. I just love Christopher Nolan, but they were talking about the same thing, about how his sets are so relaxed that everybody's just hanging out and just shooting and having a good time. Everybody's working. But I've never seen the benefit of screaming and shouting on set. I've never seen anyone do a better job if the director is angry. Then there's points in time where you have to go, all right, I want to shoot now. But that's like, you use that once or twice or whatever you want to do. But mostly building that safe space. So especially actors are allowed to fail, basically. They're allowed to make really big mistakes, because then you're going to get then afterwards you're going to get the crew expression of that person, and you're going to get something amazing from them.
That's awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Like, because people say it all the time. I'm going to navigate us here to another part really quick.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw this in with what you were saying. I got the 10-minute indicator that it's going to stop here in 10 minutes.
We'll just do another one. Just
there you go. A lot of things are preached, but when it comes time to actually applying it, I mean, that makes the difference of truly achieving success with your journey. And that's what you're, and what I'm saying is, it's often preached that, like, you must fail, and before, many times before becoming a winner or making that win. And there's bringing that mentality, that mindset to the film set as well, and realizing before, most people want to go directly to the win. Like, this has to be like perfect, and we got to get there quickly. But at the same time, like you're stating, that's a mistake in itself, because not allowing the people to make the mistake to bring out the best performance within them. And you're comfortable enough and confident enough to know that process will eventually develop to the finished product that you're after.
I only need one good take. I only need one. So there's one scene in the upcoming film. We shot one scene 7 times. We shot one take 7 times. The first 6 are horrible. It's crap. Last one is amazing. The last one is what's going to give what's going to bring this actor, like, it's going to bring him glory, because it's like the last one is so good that it's a 4-minute scene. It's a 4-minute monologue, and I don't have to edit. I can just be on him, because that's all, because he's just that good. But it took 7 takes.
Right.
The first one is horrible, and then they get progressively better. The last one is brilliant, and it's just like it's so it doesn't matter. 1 to 6 doesn't matter. It's like, we had to make those mistakes to get.
I have a question for you. I think one of the things that becomes a dilemma with that, where the yin and yang fights each other, is between art and business. And what I mean by that is the business side is saying, well, time is money. Yeah. So and especially film generations ago, where it was the film itself was a very costly medium to capture on. So it's like, you don't want to waste rows of film. And then you would think, okay, well, it's a better time now because it's digital. You just delete that. I mean, you would never delete, but I'm just saying, in general mindset, you might it's a less costly medium, but still, time is still money.
Yeah.
And so, like, a producer might be like rushing it, and a director would be like, you can't rush magic. You got to let the art evolve. So do you find yourself battling those things, or?
No, because it's just that's where planning comes in. So basically, if you know there's something that is really important, then you don't schedule things around that are also.
So you plan the space in there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So basically, if I need a lot of time on this one, I'll just make sure I have time. But this is from this is from experience from actually shooting a lot of times. You know the things, and this is hard to explain because how do you know these things? Because it's like, well, I know I need this and I need that and I need that, then I'm going to have something good. And then I can fill that in with things that are good, but they don't have to be great. If someone's walking from here to there, they don't need to be fully engaged in whatever feeling that might be. It might just work with them actually walking from A to B, and that's it. That's all we need. Right. So if you overshoot that scene, that won't matter for the finished product. So that what will matter is when we have a close up and we're with this actor and we're right here, and it's like he has to be right there. And to get there, it's not that easy. It's not like, even though if you're a professional actor, it's like sometimes it's hard, and then you need time, and then you need space. Yeah. And if the crew is rushed, if there's a producer or there's a first AD screaming, "Oh, we have to move,"
so they're gonna feel that, and it's gonna interfere with the process. Yeah.
Yeah. So build the trust from your crew is my basically. So we don't have overtime. Basically, we don't do overtime on my shoots because it's fully prepared. But for this, what I'm talking about right here, we actually postponed the lunch by half an hour. But since that's the only time we did that during the entire shoot, the crew was like, "Sure, not a problem," because now they know that I respect them. I respect them so much that I will stop shooting when it's time for lunch, and they will get their food. They will, I mean, everybody will treat it equally, but they will get their food. They will have a nice little lunch, and that's it. But then one time during that production, it's like, I have to, and I'm really sorry, but I don't have it. And people go, "Well, that's not a problem," because nobody's going to tell you no if you show that you respect people and you go, "You know what? We didn't get it." And everybody can see that we didn't get it. So everybody knows this. So it's about planning. It's about building the relationship with actors, with crew, and that's why people use the same people, because it's like people go back to the same DOP, the same composer, because they know they build a relationship, they build trust, and they also build. You don't have to do all the fluff of being nice. You can just actually talking about the real project. And most of the people,
I feel like your initial courses in psychiatry never left you. Like, you found ways for them to really benefit, because it all comes down to understanding people. Not only understanding the actors and understanding crew, just understanding people in general. And I think that gave you a leg up of building a foundation in that, and just being humane, being a very human person, and understanding. I do a lot of photography, and I often say to myself that the magic is in the psychology behind photography, because everything you described on the film set, I think the same with a model. Like, it's a 2-hour shoot, but it's because you're building up for the finale. Like, all the beginning photos are bad. You have to build the relationship with the talent, where they have to trust you and get comfortable with you as a person, with your skills, like, and with what, like, are you navigating them in a way that they look good in these photos, which I would imagine the same with actors is like, are you navigating me in a way where my best performance is being perceived? And I'm, of course they want to help you with your message, with your story, but it's a two-sided thing. It's just like a model is going to want to help me with my portfolio for my images to look great, but it's a collaboration of a mutual respect going back and forth. To me, it's all psychological, because when the person steps into my studio, they may be having a tremendously stressful day outside. Psychologically, I got to bring them, like you expressed earlier, into a different world, into this world of magic where they feel comfortable and being whatever that character is, if it's a fantasy image that I'm trying to portray, or if it's about the model, her or himself. It's psychology, and I think having a grasp around that really propels your work to another level.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I don't think actually that my psychology studies actually helped that much.
You don't put it on your forefront. Yeah.
No, I don't. I didn't like that at all.
Really?
I didn't. I was confusing to me the books we read and the things that they were talking about. We were learning about people from a book, and I'm like, it's understanding yourself is extremely hard. I mean, we're gonna go through life and we're not fully gonna understand ourselves. It's just we're too complex. Basically.
Yeah.
So how am I?
That's what we're known for. We're known for taking the simple things and turning into something complex. Life can be simple, but we won't allow it.
No,
as human beings, we won't allow it to be.
No.
Yeah.
But I think so. Basically, my biggest issue with that, with psychology, was basically that I was learning from a book, and we're reading about.
I'm getting the impression that you felt it was fake, because there's nothing like.
I felt it was more. I don't know if I felt it was fake. I think I just felt like the people that studied psychology, the people that I was doing psychology with, they were really good in school, and they were really good at reading books. And it's not the same thing as understanding human beings. Now, if you're a clinical psychiatrist, maybe you have to know all the literature. But if you want to understand human beings, it's not like I don't really see how. I don't see how the books that I read and the things that I read, how that helped me. I'm interested in people, and I'm interested in conflict, and that's always been my two things. I love conflict. Right. Conflict is like the greatest.
Just a quick reminder: like, subscribe, and click the notification button. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps this channel to keep going. Leave any comments or questions below. Thank you, and continue enjoying the show.
And we're back from commercial.
Exactly. Welcome back. Take two.
Take two. What was I saying?
Well, from what I was getting from you, we were talking about how I was expressing like I felt like psychology, has a foundation into what you work, and yet you don't want to give too much credit to that because you feel like I want to put this in my own words. Okay, so like you can say the same thing as a camera operator. You can read all these technical books of how to operate a camera, but there's nothing like picking up the camera in itself. All you can prepare forever reading books, but it never will replace actual hands-on experience of dealing with that. And then when you pick up the camera, you will find like a new discoveries and a better relationship with the actual camera by actually working with it rather than reading about it. It's good for some preparation, but nothing replaces the real thing itself. And that's
that's my point.
Awesome. I wanted to like encapsulate your films real quick. We talked a lot about Emily and the magical journey. I did have one question about that. So originally you had a different title for that. And how do you pronounce it? Is it
exactly. Exactly. That's why we actually changed it, because then the original title for the film was Fauna Land and the Lost Magic. And Fauna Land is basically the fairy tale country that she gets to when she falls asleep, she dreams. Or if you're an adult, you go, well, she fell asleep and she dreamt it. And if you're a child, she didn't fall asleep, she actually lived it. But it's this magical world that her mom writes about, basically. And that was the title, that was the working title, and we're shooting it. But most people who aren't from Europe couldn't say it. They didn't understand. And it's basically a play on fauna, and that, which is so it's, but that's why it changed. But it changes all the time. So my new film is called Scapegoat, but it's probably going to be renamed to 400.
Gotcha.
And there's just quickly on that one. The reason it's called that is because if you commit murder in Sweden and you're below 18, the maximum punishment is 4 years in prison. So there's this saying amongst criminals that if you get tapped to do a murder for your group or your clan or whatever you want to call it, you're this organized crime gang, and you're 17, you go and you shoot that person, so you kill that guy, you could get a maximum of 4 years in prison, but you are 100% part of this gang now, so you will be fine. You'll be set for the rest of your life.
Wow.
So that becomes an interesting discussion. So if you're on the bottom of society and you don't have any money, you're actually an outcast. Swedish people, in Sweden right now we have a problem there. So we're talking about integration all the time, but we're not really discussing like what is the problem, because we're not listening to the people who want to get integrated in society. We're actually listening to blonde and blue-eyed dudes who have some strange backgrounds and where they come from. Some of them are actually fairly anti-Semitic and just racist, basically.
Okay.
Not all of them, but some of them. Right. And the problem becomes, so if you don't have anything, you have no outlook on life. There's no real way to climb the social ladder in society. So it's a pretty good deal. So all I have to do is this one thing, and then I become 100% member of this group.
Right.
So we made a film about that. That's about, and organized crime is a big problem in Sweden right now. And
that's awesome. So basically, you're trying to bring to light a voice that's not being heard, because like you're saying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sorry. And I have to go back to what you just said, because you said something really interesting about you have to do it, and also to understand other people, you have to meet them. So you can't just hang out in your group and go, we are all from Connecticut and we're all rich. That's great. Right. Have you ever met someone from Michigan who's poor? I mean,
have you ever stepped out of a perspective outside of your own,
out of your comfort zone, and just like how, and it's like this is so, research is a big thing for me, but it's also telling stories about people who might not be able to tell their own stories, and
see, you're always finding something meaningful to use your tool. I'm trying. Some people just like, you're clearly like, some people just want to make the film just for the act of making a film, but you're doing something super valuable, is like making sure that it's a voice, and it has, substance, it has something truly to learn from. And I'm appreciating listening to that from you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. I want to do something that actually, it has to say something. It can't just be, the film can be an action movie. It's not a problem, but there has to be a point to it. So I love this film. I just saw All Quiet on the Western Front, which is just this, it's a German film about, it won best foreign film at the Oscars.
Okay.
And it's just this incredible anti-war movie. It's like this is the third remake of a book that was released right after the First World War, and it's just this incredible. The Germans are cool. I mean, they don't back away from. They've done some horrible shit in Europe during the 20th century,
right?
But they own it. They actually teach it in school, and they make movies about it where they don't glorify themselves, where they go, we did some fucked up. Sorry, I'm swearing again. I'm sorry.
This is but there's no FCC like television broadcast here. So that's the beauty of YouTube,
Yeah. But the reason I love that film is because it has a point of view. It has something. It's actually trying to say something about something, and that's all. I mean, this is an incredible movie. The cinematography, the music, the acting, it's just an incredible movie. But there's a point to it. It has something to say. And also our Swedish director, Ruben Östlund, who did Triangle of Sadness, he has something to say. He says something with his films. And I wouldn't make a film that there's no, I wouldn't make a film just for the entertainment and just to entertain you. I would make an entertaining movie, but I want to send you away with the question, just like, and that could be a small. It doesn't have to be like anti-war. It could but it has to be something. It has to be just. You
want the person to leave, your audience, when they leave, kind of to leave a changed person to some perspective. You want them to be entertained, but they've also walked away with a gift where they truly went on a journey. Like you said, you're taking them to another world, but they truly want to, because they say like going on a journey is what transforms you.
Yeah,
and it's the whole reason that you take a journey is because you want to go from this to that. Yeah, and your intuition is doing that, and it's making sure your audience, when they come in and they're a one, feeling or thinking in one way, by the time they leave the theater, they're thinking in a whole nother way. It's a gift of growth. You're giving them growth. You're giving them growth through your film.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far. but at least, I mean, the way I watch movies, I'm 40, so the way I watch movies is you'd go to the cinema, you'll watch a film, and then you walk out of the cinema and you would talk about it. The problem now is a little bit you're watching them on screens and at home, so maybe you don't even have anyone to talk to them about. But the big thing for me was watching a movie and then talking about it. The two of us watching a movie and going, so you saw that? Wow, that's interesting. So you're like where you're coming from would affect how you would watch a movie. The same thing for me.
Yeah.
And we could learn. So that was the whole point with Emily, was like I wanted to have an adult, a mom and a dad, or whatever, a grandma, whatever.
You're triggering a talking point among people. Yeah.
So they can discuss it. So there's something. And what was fun about Emily was that it was a very deep film for kids. The way they saw it and what they talked about, and what scared them the most was things that I didn't. Because you never know, but when they get down and when she goes down this, like, I'm losing my English word. Sorry. When she goes down this tunnel and she gets down to the underground
well.
cave.
You're talking about the well.
Yeah, the well. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then when the voices go, "Your mom doesn't love you," the kids in the audience, that was when they were the most.
That's when she was battling her demons, her demons. Yeah. Wow.
So
that's awesome.
And they get all that. Kids are cool because they get everything that's emotionally.
But the way you connect with the kids, like even what we would perceive to be as monsters, like you shared with me in a scene in the film, that one big creature that was animatronic. What was his name again? The
Ballarat.
Right. But you transformed them in a way where you're so lovable, and it's not something. Again, you're teaching kids not to be afraid. And now you look at this creature when you watch the film, like without watching the film, he's hideous. But watching the film, you love this character. It's so warming, so supporting, and so courageous when you see him running across the field at the end, sacrificing his own life and stuff. That. Like, did you perceive that creature? How did that creature come to be?
That was a long.
It's a long story.
No, well, it's not a long story, but it's hard. Creating characters out of imagination is really hard.
Yeah.
But I did work with the best people. So I mean, I got a company called Fix Us, and it's a Swedish company. But they worked with the people who were Oscar nominated for The 100-Year-Old Man and Man Called, I forget the name of the movies, but they're really good at what they do. They've been Oscar nominated a couple of times, but it's like when you create an imaginary character that I see in my mind, and then I try to draw it, and people don't understand anything because my drawing is horrible, and then you go back and forth. But this character, oddly enough, was really easy to build, because it was like. It was described in the script in one way, and the way it was described in the script was not really how I wrote the script with my wife, but I still didn't really find the script version of what the character looked like in the script to be what it should look like in reality. But that was actually fairly. We did a lot of work on the horns and the crevices in the face, so they would not be too intimidating. So we did all these like smaller design things, but it's hard to get people to, because it's basically just imagination. This is not something that exists at all. I mean, this is just this weird thing that I made up when I was.
Well, it exists now, because
it exists now. Yeah.
Because I seen your like photos on your social media where, like, I don't know if you had some kind of exhibition or something where there's all these kids gathered around and actually seeing it. So like it's something.
We had a pre-screening for the film, and we brought the monster brought Ballarat to the screening, and the kids just went insane.
That's awesome.
They were asking me questions. How did you make this? And then all of a sudden there was a knock on the door, and my wife opens the door, and this monster comes in, and they were like, "Screw with that guy." We're just, and it was just amazing. They had an incredible experience, both with the film, but also with just meeting this thing for real.
Yeah.
Here's my daughter.
Yeah, awesome. Hello. Hi.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine. So
yes, she says hi.
Awesome.
She says hi.
Awesome. A pleasure.
No, so we did that, and we did it for the premiere. We brought them to different places. So we actually did it.
I'm surprised
social
you don't
media.
have like toys on shelves.
I do.
You do? Really?
Yeah, I'm just blocking them. Hold on. I'll get
okay.
This
This is
more
behind you. Yeah, the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So that's actually a good thing that we should just say about.
So these are available in stores for people to buy?
Not anymore. So we built them as marketing tools. So we had them, and when we were screening in Berlin and selling film in Berlin, there's this big marketplace. So basically, it's just like this long row of just like different films. So there's posters everywhere. There's like Brad Pitt here, Mel Gibson there.
Right.
And we had to do something to like be noticed. So we put those little ones. They
draw attention. They definitely
draw attention. Yeah. and all these, and we just handed them out to people, and people just went up to them. It's like, what is this? It's like, oh, it's a film. Our sales say it's like, it's a film. You should see the trailer. The trailer's really good. And then they watched the trailer. Yeah. So it's hard to say how much that helped, but a friend of mine did Blair Witch Project, and they did the same thing with hats. So they were in Sundance. They had hats, and so we basically took that idea from there and just try to. It's easier to do with children's films because it's like it's a toy. So it's like, but there's books.
I think it's awesome. I just love how you brought a new entity to life. You gave life to these creatures, even though they were used as a marketing tool to bring attention. Still, in the story itself, and giving something for who you originally focused your audience to be, to connect with, and to me, it's amazing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we're working on well, there's a lot of things coming up, but it's in films for kids. It's fun. It's extremely hard because they are brutal. They won't if they don't like it, they'll just walk out of the cinema.
So can we talk about something a little bit different, which is your first film, The Break-In, which I'm assuming was for a different type of audience.
Yeah,
more mature, right? So and so that was your first feature film. That you brought to the film festival and all over the country. So can you share a little bit about the storyline on that and what it was about?
Well, the storyline about that, basically what I wanted to do was like living with a lie. So if you do something, if you do something wrong and you get away with it, how will that affect your life? Is that can you take something, lock it away in your heart, and never ever
are you talking about guilt? Living with guilt?
Yeah, living with guilt, basically. And basically we just made that visual. So they lock away guilt and this freezer, and then the guilt of that comes off.
Only so long before it consumes them.
Yeah. Right. And that was the whole thing about that film, and it was that was the thing. It was basically that about, because I've always been interested in religion, and to me, and I've met a lot of Catholic priests who we've had really interesting conversations about this, but my thing was I was confused about God gives you he forgives. He forgives you. So whatever you do, he forgives you if you ask for it. But the problem is, do you forgive yourself?
Yeah,
because that's different. So if God is one thing, God will forgive you because he's the loving father, loving mother, or whatever you want to call him. But how do you live with that? So that was the whole thing about the.
That's interesting, because as I grew up as a Catholic, and psychologically, like there's something that's done to us, because one of the first things aside after baptism, the next thing you do is First Communion, and you're taught to make a confession, and that's your process that you're going with God to receive forgiveness. Mentally, when you leave the confession booth, you literally feel lighter, like you did something right. Yeah, it's odd that that connection with God, and perceiving that forgiveness for something that great can help you overcome a guilty conscience.
Well,
and I don't know, how does that work? You know what I mean? But it's just interesting.
I think it's like, if it's a loving parent. So if you look at God, how we want to look at God, if you look at God as a loving parent, which is probably, if you believe in God and you believe that God created man out of his own image, and he's our heavenly father, heavenly mother, then he would forgive most everything. He would forgive. I mean, because I can just go to myself and just look at this wonder that my daughter just ran in. Yeah. She could do anything. Right. I'd forgive it. Right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And she would not even have to ask for forgiveness. I would still forgive her, because it's like that love.
Do you think in your story, maybe that's what the two characters were after? Forgiveness from each other?
Yeah.
They couldn't get to that point?
Oh, couldn't get to it. No.
Gotcha.
So that's yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's deep. That's very deep.
Well, I was young when I wrote it, and I was young when I did it, and but it's still something that's, I don't know if it's very deep, but I think we live in relationships where we don't talk and we don't actually communicate fully, so we keep things from, and I'm not even talking about infidelity. I'm just talking about marriages fall apart when people forget to take the laundry out of the machine, the washing machine. But it has nothing to do with that. It's like a built up thing of just like not actually communicating for so long. And
right.
And I think forgiving. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's just on with what you're expressing. I think it's amazing and awesome how everything I'm getting from you is expressing the importance of communication. In multiple aspects. Like you mentioned earlier, like you want the people to have something to talk about after the film. You want it to trigger discussion between them. You want it to develop their communication, and even within the film itself, the communication that's going on there. Like in the movie The Break-In, it's interesting that you bringing that to light to me now, because I'm thinking about they really never, with all the things that you revealed, there was really never a point where they ever talked about it.
No.
They just dealt with the situation, or kind of dealt with the situation and moved on. But they can never reach that point of forgiveness, because they never, which you did in the second film, they never got to the point where they can have enough courage to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like talking, you're saying like talking is the medicine. Communication is the medicine.
Communication is the medicine, but it could also be the disease. And this is, now we're getting into something. I don't believe that words are violent. I don't believe, because there's a lot of people saying that, okay, so if you say something horrible, then that is violence by itself. I don't believe that. But what I do believe, though, is if you say something,
the intent behind what you say.
Not even that, but if you say it so many times, it now becomes true. So if you say this thing, it now becomes true, and then that goes into
the manifestations of your words.
Yeah.
Right.
So it could actually affect us on a deeper level, even though we don't even understand it. We just that's just something that they said. That's just something that they do and something that they say. But that could, just
remember that communication is a double-edged sword. It is right. Yeah. It can be something good, but at the same thing, it can be something super hurtful. Right.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're approaching this on my next film that I'm shooting this summer, and where we're actually talking about, because there is a big discussion now about how words affect us. Should we ban words? Should we not ban words? And this is extremely hard. So I'm not even going to get into this is extremely hard. But there's something about, if you say something, you haven't done the act. But if you keep saying something, keep promoting a lie long enough, then that lie becomes truth. And
fake it until you make it
fake it until you make it. Yeah. But it's like what Hitler did. He just like kept. It's like he had this machine of propaganda, and he was probably the most evil person that ever lived on this planet. But there's still Nazis in the world right now. How is that even possible? It's just, to me, it's like,
it doesn't make sense in some ways, but it still is a thing. Yeah.
It still is a thing, and to me, it makes no sense at all. I'm like, how could you look at that and go, well, they were the good guys? Then you must be out of your mind.
Right.
It's just like,
right.
Yeah, but yeah. we have these issues in Sweden, which is fun. So I'm not attacking the most uncontroversial. I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just trying to get basically what you said, conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Get people to think about it and open their minds and hopefully within themselves find the answers to be a cure to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Wow. Amazing. So we talked about the break-in. We talked about your second film, and you mentioned the third film that you're in post-production now.
Yeah.
I was seeing in your bio that there's another. What comes next? So right now,
I'm just finishing up a film called Scapegoat. It's going to be probably most likely called 4400. 4400. Yeah. And that's about organized crime. And it's actually a theological discussion. It's about a former criminal who finds God in prison, and he becomes a priest. And then we follow the story of how he. I can't say too much, but it's
right.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. But it's organized crime, and it's the religious part of
where could we expect to find this film? Is this something you have a distribution lined up? Is it on Amazon?
Well, hopefully it's going to be on Amazon. It's probably going to be the same distribution as we had for Emily. But it's going to go to cinemas in Sweden, and it's really hard to know. It depends on where it gets into festivals and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
But it's pretty much done, and we're just fine tweaking the last ones. And there are some.
I can't wait to see it. Because already from the history from the last two films I've seen, and just talking to you now I got it in my mind that every time I watch one of your films, I'm going to learn something, because that's what you're doing, is making sure people learn something when they walk away. So I put a heavy burden on your shoulder.
Wow. No, but it's also. I mean, we spoke about this when we met, but we haven't spoken about this now. But I did a short film about of integration in Sweden. So we have all these, and I had all these people who were really angry with the film, and the reason they were angry was because they don't like immigrants being in Sweden. So they want Sweden to be just Swedish, and they didn't like it was, and then I'm kind of because so this is sorry, I have to tell the story because there's this there's a fairly controversial scene in the thing, because racism is not only between black and white. It's like
all over,
black and brown. It's like, and it's
because when you're mentioning immigration, I'm thinking in my head, well, that's a situation in every country. Every country.
Oh yeah,
its own issue with it. But go on.
But and so we had this scene, and basically the heading, so that the producers released it as something. If you read the heading on YouTube, it was basically, it sounded really racist. So some politicians took the thing. They didn't watch it because they didn't have time to watch it. So they copied it, posted it on social media on like all these like horrible like.
Wow.
And then the point of the scene is basically that he's being an idiot, and that's basically. So it had so many views, and these people were like, I wished I could have filmed them when they saw the scene, and they went, this is going to be awesome, a racist film, and then they go, oh,
the surprise in the face. Wow. But that's interesting, because it just shows the character traits of people today. Like, we're too lazy to look further into things, and we take things out of content, and that's a problem within itself.
Yeah, but for us, it was like this big. It was incredible. It's like that's what we wanted. It was supposed to be a film about, okay, so how do we tackle these integration problems? How do we? Because and they just helped us so much. but it was. It was fun. I would have loved to see the reactions. It would have been amazing. But some people were angry with the film. They were angry because the film was, again, they were angry because they didn't like the subject matter. And then, so basically it doesn't have to be conversation. People can get angry with your work as well. And that could be a point, just that could be something, like, again, going back to Ruben's film, he did something really fun. He made fun of rich people, and and screening that film in Cannes in front of the richest, the most upper whatever, and then making fun of them. That's extremely funny. I mean, that in itself is just like, it's just yeah.
Something I want to throw in there real quick. Also online, I read that you were, and you tell me if there's any truth to this, you were working on a game as well, and there's a fourth film that you're going to be working on. All right,
so we're starting to shoot that
briefly.
So during the pandemic, I didn't know what to do because Emily was postponed because it couldn't go to cinemas because we released it right when the pandemic happened. Then they released it digitally. But so I was like confused. Just like, what do I do? Because I work as a director for film and for feature film and for commercials, and all the commercials just went away. So I started pitching. It's like, I've always wanted to do video games. So I started pitching a video game to video game companies, and they were like, "This is interesting. You're a crazy person, but this is interesting." And then I can't say what it is, but basically what happened was someone in Hollywood found out, and they gave us an IP right, a really big IP right. So I can't say what it is because
I can't. Intellectual property, right?
Yeah. And so we're actually making a video game out of that. And again, we just brought in the best people. So we employed like the best, because video games are really big in Sweden. So we just brought in the best like game designers, sound designers for video games, and yeah. So
now the fourth film you're going to be working on, is it based off the game, or is it something entirely different? Okay,
entirely different. So I wanted to do something about what I was talking about before. That I wanted to do a film about how words affect us. So basically, if if you say something, if you're exposed to words or thoughts, if you go too much on YouTube and you just listen to far right people, will you become far right? Or if you just listen to far left people, will you be far? And that could be,
is it going to influence your judgment? Right.
Yeah. So that's the kind of the point of it. So it's a comedy that turns into a tragedy. But we're going to shoot it this summer. We got a really good actor to play the lead. Again, I can't say because it's not signed, but he was some really big, both international, and it's a Swedish film. It's a Swedish-Danish film, but some big international films, and he's very recognizable, and he's a great actor, and he's taking risks here because this is he has to do things that he's never done before, and just that is going to be fun.
Awesome. We're coming to an end here, so there's two quick questions I'm going to ask you. And then we'll just wrap it on that before this time runs out. The one is, the second one's going to be, I'm going to ask how can people reach you and can find out more about you, and we'll finish it off with that. But my question is going to seem out of nowhere, but I want to ask you, is there like, as a filmmaker, like one life learning lesson that you would want to share or instill into other filmmakers, something that stands out that you may want to say, that, as a final saying? Maybe an advice that you...
An advice would be, an advice is easier because I don't really know. There's so many, everything that happens to us, good or bad, defines us and become the person we are, from the good and the bad. And don't shy away from the bad, because the bad is equally, if not more important. The good is good, basically. But an advice would be, learn everything you can about writing scripts. So learn how to write. So learn how to write a script, because writing is really hard. And especially if you're going to write for other people, you got to be able to write so that people understand. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. It sounds strange, but it's like you learn how to write correctly.
Writing can be painful for some, but writing can pay off, is what you're saying.
Yeah. But and then if you write for yourself, then rules don't apply. But as soon as you want financing, as soon as you want to break into this industry, learn how to write and learn how to send a script to people that actually looks like a script, because a lot of people send it and it's formatted the wrong way. And right there, it's like, you're not going to be able to because everything is dependent on the script, the planning of the shoot, every single thing is dependent.
That's the starting point.
Yeah, it's the starting point. It's what we go back to. If we get lost, it's what we go back to. We go back to our notes, and we do our notes in the script. So the script is everything. But then if you write it, and if you write it for yourself, then you can write whatever you want.
Right.
You can do whatever you
feel
want.
like you have that freedom. And then and it goes back to what you were saying early on, the freedom to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Is where the win comes from.
Yeah.
So even doing it in the very fundamental building block of writing, your journey.
And then you can do whatever. If you learn how to write, you can do anything. You can produce, you can direct, you can write, of course, but you can do, as long as you understand scripts, then you can pretty much do anything. So the film
that script is your compass.
Script is your compass, and it's the blueprint of the whatever you're building. If the blueprint is slightly off, then it's going to be really hard to make a good movie out of it.
Gotcha. Great advice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. So for people who want to know more about you, where could they find you? If they want to get in touch with you, do they reach you through your agent or your social media?
They reach me probably for my social media is the easiest, and probably Instagram is mostly the only one I use.
Right.
I am not a big fan of social media,
Gotcha.
but I use it and I find it interesting, and I always connect with people. People connect with me. I always answer. But
so you said Instagram. So what's the name on Instagram?
It's
find you.
M_Ovnell. That's my last name, basically.
Gotcha.
It's just and I always answer depending on what the question is.
Well, Marcus, thank you so much for giving me this time and sharing with me everything that you have. So enlightening just to listen to you, and you did what you said your goal is with film is as I walk away just from this talkcast, have me thinking about things and in a different way. We covered a lot of different topics, which is opening my mind and says, I got to look at these things a little different, or just give more thought to them. You left me in this whole bubble thought process.
Good.
I hope it's also done the same for our audience, and so thank you for that.
Thank you.
I look forward to talking to you again. So,
well, I'll come back. We'll talk.
Awesome.
Hopefully, I have my trailer for the next one.
So that would be
I'll
fantastic.
send that to you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and have a great day.
You too. Take care. Say hi to your wife.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.